Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time for my week 3 NFL selections after yet another great week 2, which I will be flexing on you all with my results in just a moment. It's time for me to spread the wealth to you all again and let you guys know who I picked for week 3. Some common winners as per the last couple of weeks, and maybe some change-ups as well, and some interesting matchups in the mix. Anyways, let's get on to it. But like I said off the top of this video, I have to go back and look at my week 2 selections and see how I did. And well, it was just the same as I did in week 1. Take a look at this. 12-4 was my weekly record yet again to have an overall record. And 4-28, I would personally say that's a pretty darn good record to say so the least. You know, just looking at the losses, Pittsburgh, Seattle, originally I felt like that was going to be a toss-up. Pittsburgh blew that game themselves by playing bad special teams. Miami, New England. I kind of gave Miami a last chance there on their second try, and they lost. So you'll see what I mean when I pick my selection in their game this week. Denver, Indiana, a lot closer than I, to be honest with you, thought the game was going to be. Indiana came out with a late winner there. And Minnesota, Atlanta, I thought the Minnesota crowd was going to play a huge part in that game. It did for the bit I was watching. But Atlanta came home with the win. Minnesota's offense was just dead. So there's my 4 losses. But overall, another great week for myself. And now let's get on into the week 3 picks, starting with Thursday night football. All right, so this week's Thursday night football game is between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo's hosting this game. Boy, oh boy, I think everyone who's watched my previous couple videos, and I kind of already hinted at that, you probably already know who I'm picking here. And it's clear as day. It's the team that is playing at home. It will be the Buffalo Bills. Miami's offense has been... They were all right against New England, but that is a much weaker team. Horrible against the Colts, who have been a surprisingly good team. Now they have to go up against the Buffalo Bills, arguably the best team in the league. Good luck. So, I'm sorry. I have nothing really to say about Buffalo because I think we all know how this is going to end. I'm going Buffalo to take this one. Then we move on to Sunday's matchups, starting in the 1 p.m. window, and we start with the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Minnesota Vikings. 2 teams with banged up quarterbacks who will not be playing in this game. Obviously, Joe Burrow, who will be out for a couple of weeks, at least with turf toe, so he's not playing. J.J. McCarthy has also been announced that he's not playing this week. So you go down to the backups, and Carson Wentz will be playing for the Minnesota Vikings. He has a bit more experience than Browning. But if I'm looking at rosters overall, Browning, yes, he still had a strong outing for the bit he played last week. Picks, though, were a bit of a question mark. But I think overall, if you're talking about defense/offenses, I think Carson Wentz has that ability to bring that experience to mindset. And they still have Justin Jefferson and the strong defense. So to be honest with you, I am taking the Minnesota Vikings for this one. So that's who I'm taking in this game. Next up, we have the Houston Texans on the road taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Houston's looking for a win here. I couldn't believe that they kind of lost that game on Monday. I thought they had it in the bag there late. And Baker Mayfield did the 2-minute drill on them. They're going on the road to Jacksonville here, but Jacksonville has also had a mediocre start to the year. If they're able to get Brian Thomas going, I think Jacksonville's in for a good one. I just can't see the Texans going 0-3 to start the year, to be honest with you. I think they have too good of a roster to do that. Defensively, maybe not that strong, but I think they have enough to beat the Jaguars, and that's who I'm taking this week. I'm going Houston. Next, we got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Who would have thought that the Indianapolis Colts would be 2-0 to start the year, and their offense is just insane. They haven't even punted the ball once all year. Could you imagine that? They haven't even done it once. The Titans, you know, I mentioned how they're a young team. They're still kind of growing last week. And I still kind of see that, you know, with their quarterback, Cam Ward. I just can't see how the Colts actually lose this game considering how good they've started. I will personally say about the Colts, do I think they can keep this going? I don't know. It's shaky just looking at recent Colts history, but how they've started so far, it's looking very good, very promising for the remainder of the year. But Tennessee, I just don't think will be a matchup for them where they lose this game. So I'm going to take the Colts on this one, and they will improve to 3-0. Our next game is a bit of a toss-up in my opinion, but it's all kind of based on injuries. It is the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Washington Commanders, and my point stands of where Jaden Daniels is. Is he going to be on the field or is he going to be on the sideline? Based on when I'm recording this right now, he won't practice until at least Friday. And judging by that, it doesn't seem like he's going to be playing. Therefore, Marcus Mariota, the backup quarterback, will most likely start on the Sunday. And if I'm looking at the teams and I'm seeing that, to be honest with you, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game. I think Jaden Daniels is a big part of that offense. And if they do not have him, I just can't see them winning this game. After their great defeat last week against the Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles will head home and face off against the Rams. This Eagles team, minus the tush-push debate that everyone's been having over the last couple of days, is still one of the best teams. They still have one of the best offensives. They played a great Chiefs defense, though, on Sunday. That's why the point total was so low in that game. And their defense also showed up as well. But when I'm looking at this game, the Rams, they've actually had a great start to the year. But the Eagles playing at home with how good their team is, I just can't pick against them. And that's why, again, this time around, I'm taking the Eagles to win this game over the Rams. Up next, we have the Atlanta Falcons on the road taking on the Carolina Panthers. This game, I probably won't be watching a ton of. Carolina's just not that team. Atlanta, somewhat of a tough watch sometimes, and there's better games on at 1 o'clock anyways, so I probably won't be watching a lot of this game. But from what I know is Atlanta will not be losing this game. I think Atlanta will be improving to 2-1 on the year with a win over the Panthers. Yes, the Panthers are at home, but I think, and it kind of goes on to what I said last week. They're still not there as a team. They're still not strong as a team. The Falcons have incredible weapons, and I think that's going to overpower the entire Panthers defense, and I don't think there's a good chance they will win this game on Sunday. We're down to our last three in the 1 o'clock window, and we're starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New England Patriots. The Steelers, I mentioned earlier last week, lost the game themselves. The Seahawks played a great game, but they kind of lost the game themselves. The Patriots, however, have looked good through the first two games. Yes, they lost their first one, but they beat the Miami Dolphins, which I guess, I don't know if that's a good result or a bad result, to be honest, if you're a Patriots fan, judging how that game went. But I just think it's a bounce back game for the Steelers, and I can't see them losing this one. They lost themselves the game on Sunday. I don't think they'll do it again, and I think they'll bounce back and defeat the Patriots on the road. Now with our final two games, let's start with the Green Bay Packers in Cleveland taking on the Browns. The Browns defense did okay against the Baltimore Ravens last week, but now they have another tough test, and it's within the Green Bay Packers and their offense. Even against the Packers' fantastic defense with Michael Parsons now almost playing the whole game, the Packers just seem too good for the Browns to lose this game. So I see Green Bay winning this one and improving to 3-0 on the season. And for our final game at 1 o'clock, the New York Jets are in Tampa taking on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers scaved out that win against the Texans on Monday Night Football. Fantastic 2-minute drill for Baker Mayfield, and I think they're going to win again, and that's kind of solely based on the fact that Justin Fields will not be playing in the game. He is injured out with a concussion, and he's been kind of a major driving force for that Jets offense over the first couple of weeks. Yes, they had a poor week against the Bills, but again, I'm going to say that is just the Bills, but he was fantastic against the Steelers. I think still with him out, I don't see the Jets having a good chance at competing in this game. I'm taking the Buccaneers on this one, plain and simple. Now let's move on to the 4 o'clock window, and unlike last week where we only had 3 4 o'clock games due to the extra Monday night game, we're back to 4, and we're starting with the Denver Broncos on the road taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this will be the Chargers' first technical home game of the year at SoFi Stadium. Their game in Brazil was actually their first home game of the year, but was it really? It was more just like an NFL home game, to be honest. It was just everyone all there together. But that's besides the point. They're back at SoFi playing at home. Now, does that mean much knowing myself as a Charger fan? I don't think so, to be honest. I think there'll most likely be more Broncos fans there, which could be a driving force for the Broncos to win this game. But just based on how the Chargers have started this year, annihilating the Raiders, making the Chiefs look like fools of themselves. And the Broncos defense being a bit injury prone right now with a couple of major injuries. I gotta go with the Chargers again, man. They've looked clinical on offense. Not perfect, I won't say perfect, but they have looked very good. And I think that'll be a driving force for this game if that Denver defense is a bit banged up, a bit injured, won't be able to perform at max capacity. I think the Chargers will take big advantage of that, and I'm gonna take them in their first home game of the year. Then we got the Seattle Seahawks back at home taking on the New Orleans Saints. Listen, the bar I was at for Sunday watching last week's football, they had the Saints and the 49ers on. That was one of the toughest games to watch all year. It was so slow. It was annoying to watch. It was that slow because it was that bad. I'm straight up just saying this. The Seahawks will win this game. The Saints offense looks discombobulated at times. You know, having a more established offense like the Seahawks do, I can't see why they won't lose this game, especially at Lumen Field. I am taking the Seahawks, plain and simple. And for our two 425 starts, we got the Dallas Cowboys in Chicago taking on the Bears. Dallas had that amazing game against the Giants last week, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you got to see the highlights. I'm sure you guys all have. But man, what a game that was to get their first win of the year. The Bears got annihilated by the Lions. This is a toss-up to me, but if I'm simply going on experience of players here, I personally think that the Cowboys will win this game on the road. To be honest, deep down, this could be a toss-up, but I'm going to take the Cowboys on this one to beat the Bears. And let's end it off with the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going back to my Saints statement. Even the 49ers were rough to watch in that game against the Saints last week. That was really rough. Yes, they didn't have Brock Purdy as their quarterback. It was Mac Jones. So obviously the offense wasn't super high powered there, but it was still a tough watch. Arizona played a good game last week against the Panthers. Yes, it's the Panthers. But if I'm just going on wits here, I think the 49ers will still win this game. They're at the home. They have home field advantage. The Cardinals still have a good team, but you know, when you're trying to stop an offense with Christian McCaffrey in it, it's going to be tough. I'm going to take the 49ers at home. And finally, let's go on to Sunday Night Football. It is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New York Giants. This is kind of like how I said with the Texans a bit earlier. I can't see the Chiefs going down 0-3 to start the year. The Giants have looked good in certain pockets. Steve Spagnuolo's defense performed last week against the Eagles. The game came down to tush pushes, really. If they're able to perform like they did last week, I don't see a reason why the Chiefs won't win this game. Yes, their offense is a bit iffy right now with not many receivers available to them, but defensively, I think they could win this game just based on defense alone. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs on the road at MetLife. And finally, for our Monday Night Football game, this is going to be a good one. It is the Detroit Lions taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Boy, oh boy, the running back matchup in this game is going to be fantastic. It's Derrick Henry versus Jahmyr Gibbs, and I guess you could sprinkle David Montgomery still in there. But I think a lot of this game is going to come down to the defense. Baltimore's defense has looked pretty good over the first couple of weeks. The Lions defense, who had trouble against the Packers, but then last week versus the Bears, they were strong yet again. So this whole game, I think, is going to come down to defense and who can perform on the offensive side of things. And to be honest with you, what the Browns did great last week against the Ravens was stopping the run. They stopped Derrick Henry big time. If you have Derrick Henry in fantasy, you know what I'm talking about. If the Lions are able to do that again, I think the Baltimore Ravens may be in trouble. And just looking at offenses alone, I think the Lions have a better offense if they're able to perform. I am going to take the Lions on the road against the Ravens. All right, everyone, so those are my selections for this week in the NFL. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, if I had good picks, if I had bad picks. Also, please make sure to leave a like on the video if you did. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified for any Zucc TV content that comes out, especially this one, because I'll be doing week 4 pick, week 5 pick, week 6. We'll be going all year. So if you want more weekly pick videos, make sure to click that bell and as well as subscribe. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the football this weekend. Peace.